Hello friends, welcome to Nripa's talk show. This is your host Nripa Chetri, a technologist and entrepreneur enthusiast based out of Bengaluru. I arrange a talk show, invite the different personalities to share their experience and thoughts with you. Today I have a special guest, Dr. Subra Mukherjee. She is from Guwahati, which is the Northeast business hub. She is a university gold medalist in her masters and completed PhD in engineering from Don Bosco University. I am very glad that she has accepted my invite today and ready to share her thoughts. Uh, Hello, Dr. Subra. Welcome to my talk show.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you. So, Dr. Subra believes that lifelong learning is the key for any individual success. With this note, let us start about the recent book, Dr. Subra, that you have published about the invisible yoke. Basically, what I understand briefly is you wanted to bring something, the hidden talent that any woman has, but they are not able to make some progress because of the social prejudices that is prevail in our society. So if you like to talk little more about what kind of message that you want to try to convey through your recent published book, that invisible book. I have seen a lot of good reviews and it has been published. It has been accepted wide range of readers across this virtual communities.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Nripa. Actually, this is the book, if you see, The Invisible Yoke, and the title itself, it's The Invisible Yoke. So if you understand, yoke is a cross piece, maybe all of us have seen, that is attached to the animals, necks of the animals to animals when they pull the cart or something. And when I thought about writing stories about women in the society, I thought that was the most appropriate metaphor to use, the yoke, because each and every moment of our life, all human beings, of course, but particularly women, we face that yoke that the society or our belief system has put around us, which holds us back from the life that we actually wish to live or we deserve. But at the same time, the yoke is not visible to the society, and sometimes even to us. We don't realize we have a yoke around us, or we have built an invisible yoke around us. So when I thought about writing the book addressing these issues, this was the most appropriate metaphor, and that led me to the title, The Invisible Yoke. And it's a collection of 7 short stories of women from different stratas of the society. There are women who are working in a multinational company, a housewife, a woman who is just getting married, a girl who is working as a domestic helper in somebody else's house. So 7 stories, but I have tried to portray women from all dimensions of life and how they struggle in their day-to-day life because of the prejudices the society has for women, as well as how that has created a yoke around the women, because of which the women themselves sometimes find it very difficult to overcome that. So that was the idea of bringing up this book, and I have tried to write it in a very simple language so that everyone understands. And yeah,
Even I have had the opportunity to read a few of your stories. So one of the story that I learned about the definition of beauty, the candidate or the woman herself will not be confident enough what she looks, because it all depends upon what society perceives her, what society created the personality on her behalf, in fact. So that kind of social pressure, in fact, always been associated with women. For example, as you said in the story, right, the woman's beautiness is controlled completely by what her neighbors and society people talks about. So if you tell that story more details, I think it will be a very good convey to our audience.
I understand that. Yeah, I understand you're talking about the last story, that is the Genesis. The stories in my book, the first story is called as Revelation, And of course, if the audience, whoever is watching, when they read, they will understand. The first story is Revelation, and the story about which you are saying, that story is, the title is Genesis. So it's a story about a girl, about just one evening of her life, the evening when she is getting married. And suddenly she starts getting a lot of congratulatory messages from people. And everybody is coming to her, trying to click photographs with her and wishing her, oh my God, you're looking like goddess. You're looking very beautiful. And this girl, she suddenly gets confused that aren't this the same people who used to tell me how ugly I am? So the entire story is about, in society, somehow, even though we say we have progressed a lot, and yes, we did, but even now, and I have heard this from a lot of persons who have personally messaged me that they could relate with this story, that from childhood onwards, the moment a girl is born and as she grows up, based upon the complexion, in any case, if the complexion is dark or dusky, whitish, whatever it is, strangely, he or she, I mean, she particularly is not allowed or I would say she is restricted from wearing orange, green, or maybe anything that is very vibrant or something. And slowly she picks up unconsciously or through cognitive learning that yes, she is not good looking. And that definition of beauty she can carry till her youth also sometimes. And that can have multiple, repercussions in all areas of life. Because when a person don't feel confident from within, because of all the belief system that the society has implanted in her head, then obviously that girl, you can imagine what kind of turmoil she will have. So the entire story is about that how she feels, the duality, because the makeup artist has put so much of makeup on her and she has made her look very beautiful. Everybody is saying, oh my God, you're beautiful. But these were the same set of relatives or neighbors or some people from the society who told her you are dark, or we'll have a tough time finding a man for you or something like that. And then she grows up with this. So it's very funny, and in a very funny way I have tried to tell that all the rituals and all that, how she has to undergo. And finally there is some relief at the end, which I will not like to disclose. There is some relief in the end, because in each of the stories there is a yoke which has kept the woman, you know tied tied up and not allowed her to live a life that she deserves. And at the end, each story, the woman breaks the yoke. That invisible yoke, she breaks it and she sets herself free. She tries to set herself free at least. So that is the message about the last chapter that you are asking.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is very inspiring message that you are trying to convey through your stories. In fact, I can relate in my village or in my many relative places how women are always pressurized if she is not looking beautiful. I think that
Absolutely.
yeah. So
It is
I think
funny actually.
exactly. So I think that that kind of social stigma has to go if you want to bring full potential of women in the society. So there is no doubt about it. We'll talk about the later part of our conversation. How can we make such little bit of contribution from our side to build that kind of culture? Anyway, so coming to another story which has touched my heart, right? You said, I think it is second or third story in your book where you mention about the young 14 years old maid, housemaid. Yeah, and then she is a very dedicated uh, servant in the house. She wash the clothes, she wash the sofa of the employers, she groom the children, she gives the chocolate and whatever. But she clean the sofa, but she's not allowed to sit in the sofa. She feed the chocolate to the children, but she's not allowed by the employers to take the chocolate. So this is really emotional, touching story. I would love to hear more about this.
Yeah, you are talking about the third story here. The story title is Self-Made, not Self-Made. Self-MAID, Self-Made. And yeah, this is also I've tried to again portray it in a very humorous sense, but trying to address a very real issue that it's about a 14-year girl. Her name is Cheryl, and here in this story, she is very beautiful. She is very fair, and that's why people even tell her, okay, you don't look like maid. Now, see, this is a kind of conditioning we have, that you don't look like maid, you're beautiful. And then that girl tries to understand that how is complexion, maid, your profession, and all this, how it is related, because she is a young girl, she is confused. And at the same time, she also feels very upset because her employers, they ask her to take care of their child. They will ask her to cook, do all the household chores, but the same time she's not allowed to, sit on the sofa. So something like that, it's not that I have just written it, but I have observed. This is something I have really observed in lot of places, in lot of societies, not just in one particular state or one particular instances. This is something really a big observation throughout my life. I think I have seen in so many places that somehow even today we tend to, there is so much of hierarchy, because every work, if we talk about dignity of labor, every work is,
Same.
I mean, that person is not stealing from you.
Exactly.
She's, or he or she is doing her part of the job, and earning. And if she can cook for you, why can't she eat with you? If she can take care of your children, why can't she sit along with your children on the sofa? And if your children can have chocolates and pasta and pizza, why don't you offer her also? I mean, why there's so much of imbalance? You know, this is something I so much feel, and I think even in my future books and something, I will definitely write about this more in details, because this inequality and this inhuman treatment is something I really, if I wish that something should be banished from the society, it should be this. Human beings cannot be treated so unequal. That's, so one person is sitting on the floor and you sit on the, it's just the financial conditions are different. How does it matter otherwise? How does it matter? So that was the thing. And what I wanted to show here in this story is that she is being taken to a different family, and another lady tries to make her understand that yes, once you're educated, you have to understand that you also have the right to be educated, you have the right to be independent, you cannot depend upon others throughout your life. So that turmoil of that 14-year-old girl, her relationship with her final employer, or the angel in her life who comes to her life and changes her life, but at the same time the other lady also tries to tell her that whatever it is, you should not always feel too much, having humility is good, but do not let others treat you like a doormat. You have that strength in you that you can do something in your life. And then she pursues her education and how she goes about it in her life. So all that I have tried to portray in just very short story. And yeah, that's also a story many readers have liked, and I wish I was able to give the message, even though in a very simple way.
No, you were able to do that because I have read that book, and the way you have written in so simple language, and even uh, uh, as a man I can understand. So women will obviously will have a more resonance about it. So, but the bigger question is why that discrimination is still there in the society. We claim ourselves as educated, but right. So there is something where is there is a problem in the education system, where there is more focus on general intelligence probably than emotional and the social empathy and kindness. Those human values are lacking in our education system probably, right? So those things are definitely there. So therefore this kind of prejudices, this kind of discrimination happening in the society. But however, from our part, from your as a storyteller, as a author, as a educator, that you are beautifully highlighting and trying to convey the message to the larger education community, and I think it is really wonderful job that you have done. With this note, let us uh, come towards the conclusion of our discussion. Just probably I have one more additional questions on Dr. Subra. Uh, we know there is a lot of social discriminations, and we know the one section of the society, especially the male-dominated society, looks the ladies in a different way. They still want uh, their women should be within the house and they should only involve in household activity. They should not go out. And people like a country like India, where you are trying to become a superpower in down the line of 20 years. So if the both men and women does not work along the way, how this is possible? Obviously, it is not possible. So what is, how can we remove this kind of perception about looking the ladies in such a low grade way. So what is your thought on that?
Actually, the moment you say that, it actually is very painful to even listen, when
Exactly.
people say that empower women and empower this, that, and then some others will come and decide for us our lives.
Exactly.
And fortunately, I have not faced that kind of thing. But whatever it is not about I or me. And we all agree upon one thing, that there are discrimination in the society, and not just in one community or two communities. There are many communities where still women find it difficult, or it is very sad to see that very educated girls, the moment they get married, they have to sacrifice for their job, or they have to leave their job, relocate to other places, and then have a lifelong trauma of not being able to do something that they really wanted, but then they, in the name of compromise or sacrifice or whatever, they do it. And if it's a personal choice, it's perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, my idea is, why should somebody else decide for me? So the same message goes for across for all the women, that let's, anyways, the society is so imbalanced, and maybe at least in our lifetime, it won't be a perfect place to live. Of course, I mean, if I consider, even if I live 100 years, but even then, suddenly there won't be a very vast paradigm shift that tomorrow morning everything becomes perfect. Sadly, it's no. And that's the bitter truth. But my idea is that, and in the beginning of the book, I have written that it is dedicated to all the women. Since it's my first book, I wrote it very specifically. It's dedicated to all the women in the society who dare to dream. And from my side, what I can do is, I try to write it in a very simple story, so that people can resonate and they can understand that yes, society will not anyways change, but we as women, we can change ourselves. And we have to understand that, you know changing everything is impossible, but changing one person is okay. And that changes that we have to stop thinking about pleasing others. As girls, somehow we are brought up in a way, largely, if not the entire society, but there are still some sections of the society where we are brought up in a way where we have to please others. We have to please, and that is how we grow up also. And that brings along, when we have to please, we have to cook good food, we have to look beautiful, we have to look good as a bride, we have to be very good when you go to the other place, other house also, at our in-laws house, and that continuous. So if all that is, whatever is a women's choice is fine, but we as a women, or all the women, whoever is watching, I would like to say is that the first step is to break your own inner yoke. Sometimes we think that, uh, what this person will say, what that person will say. So if we just keep all that aside, let us first take out the yoke that is within us. The name itself is the invisible yoke. Each one of us, somehow we have binded ourselves with that yoke. And it's time that, let alone the rest of the world, first you break your own yoke and feel beautiful. Why should another person tell me whether I'm beautiful or not? If I feel beautiful with whatever complexion I have, whether I wear spectacles or not, I should feel the way I am. And I should be able to contribute to the society. And if I want to do job or not, it should be all my decision, not that somebody else coming into my life and deciding. So the moment I think women understands that, that itself is a big empowerment. And as you say that as a society, how we can do it, of course, I think we need more of education. And if you just allow me, I can tell you one thing, that yesterday I was just talking to my spouse that, how automatically in the books also, if you see, or in the ads everywhere, this complexion thing or these biases are there. The moment you say somebody is beautiful, you imagine the person is fair. Somehow it is there in the mind. And because of this inequality, I have seen that even United Nations, if you they have this 170 goal actions. In one of those goals, it is written that, as a parent, if you have kids at home, start reading stories about different cultures, that how people look in different societies, what are the food habits, and how they are underprivileged people in the world. So when you tell your child right from the beginning that these are the diversity in the world, so the child will not have that kind of prejudices. So whether you have a son or a daughter at home, At least if we can give that kind of information, that kind of learning, maybe after 100 years, 50 years, 60 years, this generation, when they come up, they will have lesser biases than the one that we are facing right now. But otherwise, I would say to the women, you yourself break the yoke and move ahead. Rest, if the world changes, it's good.
Yeah, I think to the your point is very relevant today. Uh, Charity begins at home. So let us start making transformations from our side, and try to release the yoke that is associated with us, right? So I'm very sure uh, our audience will get a very good perspective about from this discussion, and with this kind of insightful thoughts about uh, about the practical ground reality, what is happening in the about the women's in the society, and how what kind of challenges people are facing, and how can we probably release this yoke and make contribute something better in the society. So with this note, I would like to thank once again to Dr. Subra for his for her valuable input and time. uh, we'll connect again. Till then, see you. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.